You're watching Math on the Fritz with Mr. Fitz, and here you can see that we're going to be simplifying radicals today, and we have two different kinds that we're looking at. We have the kind over here where it's just a number underneath, and then you have the kind over here where there's already a number on the outside, and there's a number underneath. So in order to simplify these radicals, we know that we have to try to find pairs that we can pull out. So when I look at 450, I'm going to know that has to break down into something. So I'm going to take 450 and I'm going to come up with two factors that multiply to give me 450. I see it ends in 10, so I know it's 10 times 45. If I had a calculator, I could divide this by 10 and see what I end up with. Now, that's not a prime number, so I have to keep breaking that down. 2 and 5, because 2 times 5 is 10. 5 times 9 is 45. That's prime, that's prime, that's prime. Oh, 9's not prime yet. So as you can see, I took this number that I had, 450. I found out what its prime factors were, and I circled them all. Now I need to try to figure out what are my pairs. I have a pair of 5s, so I'm going to cross that out, and my answer is going to have a 5 in front. Now I look for another pair, and I have it. I have a pair of 3s, so I cross that out, and I put a 3 out here. Now this 2 that I have circled doesn't have anything to pair with, so that's stuck under the radical. And then my last step is just to combine, since I have more than one factor out here. 5 times 3 is 15. 15 square root of 2 is my answer. So that's how I'm going to do the problem that you see that just has a number underneath. When I do my problem that also has a number in front, I'm going to do it the same way. I'm going to worry about what's under the radical and figure that out first. So if I look at the 48, I'm going to break that down the same way I broke down that number. 48 is made up of, at least 2 goes into it because it's even. So I know that I can divide by 2. So I'm going to divide by 2. 48 divided by 2 is 24. 2 is prime, but 24 is definitely not prime. I can break that down into 2 times 12. 2 is prime, but 12 isn't. So I'm going to break 12 down into 2 times 6. 6 is not prime, so I need to make that break down. And now I have this really nice tree set up over here where all of the numbers at the bottom are prime. I circled them because they're prime. But I do have to pull my pairs now. I have a pair of 2s, so I cross out the pair and I put a 2 in front for part of my answer. I have another pair of 2s, so I'm going to cross that out and put another 2 in front. But in the original problem, I had a 3 in front already. So I've also got to include the 3 that was already there. Not because I had a pair of 3s, but because a 3 was already in my original problem. Now I look back and say I used it, I used it, I used it. The only thing I couldn't use was this 3, and there's no pair to come out. So that's still stuck under the radical. My final answer then is just putting together these 3 factors all through multiplication. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 3 is 12. So I end up with 12 root 3. So when we're simplifying radicals, that's going to be our entire process. Find out what the factors are. When they're prime, I circle them just so I know what I'm looking at. I see a pair, pull it. When you have a pair, pull it. And if you had more than one thing coming out, at the end you have to multiply it together. More than one thing came out, I've got to multiply that all together. And then I have my answer. So good luck when you're simplifying radicals of pulling out those pairs.